The movie starts in the mountains of Costa Rica, where a helicopter drops a team of scientists led by Dr. Mobius at the entrance of a cave. Morbius, suffering from a rare blood disease, needs canes to walk and instructs his team to set up the trap they've brought. He then raises his bleeding hand to lure all the bats in the cave into the trap. The team and the pilot run in fear, but Morbius calmly waits. The story shifts 25 years ago to Greece, where young Morbius meets a boy named Milo, both suffering from the same rare blood disease. They bond over their desire to be normal. When Milo's medical equipment malfunctions, Morbius ingeniously fixes it with a spring from his pen, impressing Dr. Nicholas, who decides to send Morbius to an exclusive school in New York. Morbius promises to find a cure for their disease before leaving, but a letter he writes accidentally falls into the hands of bullies who taunt Milo. Nicholas intervenes before the situation escalates. Morbius earns his doctoral degree at 19 and develops artificial blood, saving millions of lives. Despite offers of the Nobel Prize, Morbius declines, as he discovered the artificial blood accidentally while seeking a cure for his illness. Back in the present, Morbius returns to his hospital job, where his colleague, Dr. Martine, confronts him about his project to remix human DNA with bat DNA, funded by Milo. Although initially denying it, Morbius admits the truth when Martine reveals his tank of Colombian bat. These bats are the only mammals on Earth that feed exclusively on blood, so Morbius believes their special saliva may hold the key to curing his illness. Martine expresses concern about the ethical implications of such experimentation, but Morbius proceeds with testing his new serum on a lab rat, which unfortunately results in the rat's death. As they grapple with the failed experiment, one of Morbius' patients experiences a seizure, prompting them to rush to her room and induce a coma to prevent a stroke. When Martine revisits the lab, she is astonished to find the rat showing signs of life, indicating that the serum does indeed work. Later, Morbius confides in Milo about his breakthrough and requests additional funding. Since the experiment is not legal, Morbius plans to conduct it in international waters, and Milo agrees to finance the endeavor in hopes of finding a cure. Morbius and Martine embark on the journey to international waters. Morbius develops a new, more advanced serum, and Martine administers it into Morbius' spine. As his body begins to convulse, a crew member interrupts them, leading to a struggle. During the chaos, Morbius breaks free and undergoes a monstrous transformation, crawling on the ceiling with terrifying agility. Ignoring Martine's pleas, Morbius attacks and feeds on the guard. As the ship's alarm blares, Morbius, overwhelmed by the noise due to his sensitive ears, begins to panic and damages the isolation room. Despite Martine's efforts to intervene, the security crew arrives and pushes her aside, rendering her unconscious. Seizing the opportunity, Morbius breaks free from the room, showcasing his newfound vampiric abilities by swiftly evading bullets and eliminating the guards mercilessly. Survivors attempt to flee and barricade themselves, but Morbius, now imbued with immense strength, effortlessly breaks through the barriers. Once again crawling on the ceiling, he systematically hunts down and dispatches each remaining guard. Satiated after feeding, Morbius reverts to his human form and rushes to inspect himself in the mirror, confirming his cure. After ensuring Martine's safety, Morbius is confronted with the horrifying reality of his actions upon reviewing the surveillance footage. Overcome with remorse, he vomits but then initiates a distress call, discards the serums, and plunges into the sea. The following day, FBI agents arrive to investigate the scene, only to find all security recordings deleted and Martine still unconscious. Meanwhile, news of the incident reaches Nicholas and Milo. Subsequently, Morbius returns to the hospital, attends to his patients, and deposits the serums in his lab. With his condition deteriorating once more, he resorts to drinking the artificial blood he created, enabling him to sustain himself without resorting to violence. Morbius begins to test his newfound abilities, realizing he possesses extraordinary speed, agility, and the ability to climb and jump with ease. Upon entering the tank with the bats, he experiences a sense of connection with them, and he discovers he has developed echolocation akin to a bat's, allowing him to navigate his surroundings with precision. However, Morbius soon realizes that these powers are temporary and tied to his need for blood. While the artificial blood stabilizes him for 6 hours, its effectiveness diminishes over time, leaving him increasingly reliant on real blood to sustain his strength. To further test his dependence, Morbius isolates himself and experiences severe weakness until Milo arrives and provides him with blood, leading to his swift recovery. Despite Morbius's warnings about the curse of his cure, Milo remains adamant about receiving the treatment, prompting Morbius to react aggressively and push him away. Meanwhile, Martine awakens and is questioned by the FBI agents about the events on the ship. Feigning ignorance, she withholds information. Later that evening, a nurse encounters a vampiric creature and meets a gruesome fate, leading to suspicions falling on Morbius. Disturbed by the possibility of his involvement, Morbius flees the hospital after grabbing fake blood bags. Confronted by the FBI agents, he incapacitates them and escapes, evading pursuit by climbing to the hospital roof. However, before he can investigate further, he is apprehended and taken into custody. In the detention center, Morbius calculates his decreasing feeding intervals and faces interrogation from the agents, who bring holy water as a precaution. Accused of the deaths on the ship and the nurse, Morbius struggles to maintain control, pleading for his fake blood bags to stave off his cravings. The agents don't take him seriously and send him back to his cell. Later on, Morbius is visited by Milo, who offers his support and gives him a pack of artificial blood before he leaves. However, Morbius notices Milo has forgotten his cane and discovers the truth. Milo stole the serum and injected himself with it. In fact, he was the one who killed the nurse. Once his way out, Milo stops pretending he's disabled and walks away with perfect reflexes. Furious, Morbius drinks the blood and transforms into his vampiric form to escape the cell through the window. Then he jumps all over the city and uses his echolocation to hear Milo attack the owner of a newspaper stand. Morbius immediately rushes to confront Milo on the street, calling him a monster. However, Milo thinks this power is amazing and they finally can do whatever they want, so he attacks Morbius to get him off his back. A fierce fight ensues, and as the vampires move to attack each other, they end up crashing into the subway station, causing citizens to run in panic. After exchanging a few more hits, Milo celebrates the fact they've evolved, but Morbius promises to find a way to fix this. At that moment, the police show up to arrest them both. However, Milo moves fast and kills them all in seconds before doing a little victory dance. Next, Milo attacks Morbius again as the train comes closer. Morbius can feel the fast air caused by the train and jumps in front of it to fly through the tunnels and escape. The next day, Martine feels like someone is following her through the city, so she enters a shop to escape through the back door. The one following her is an agent, who now has lost her in the crowd. Martine takes the bus and sees in the newspaper that Morbius is a wanted man, only for him to suddenly appear behind her. She believes him when he says Milo took the serum and is the actual killer. Then they get off the bus to stop at a cafe. While they chat, Morbius overhears two criminals mentioning a lab, so he asks Martine for a few things before following them. After taking the artificial blood Martine got for him, Morbius finds the thugs inside a lab where they counterfeit money. When he nicely asks them to give him their lab, a thug tries attacking him with a knife, but Morbius breaks his hand and scares them all away as he calls himself Venom. While Morbius uses the pieces of the printing machines to make the devices he needs to work on a cure for vampirism, Milo is getting ready for a night out. After dancing around the apartment while getting dressed, he goes to a nightclub and flirts with a beautiful woman, but a guy says he saw her first and pushes him away. Milo manages to keep his powers under control and leaves. However, he waits outside, and when the guy comes out with his friends, he kills them all. Moments later, Martine goes to Morbius' hospital lab to grab a few things and finds Milo there asking for his friend. Martine swears she doesn't know where Morbius is and makes him leave without a fuzz. Meanwhile, the FBI agents break into Martine's place, but neither she nor her cat are there. It's then revealed that Martine is hiding with Morbius at the new lab and she brought her cat with her. While trying to feed it, she accidentally cuts her finger, and Morbius has to make an extra effort not to react to the smell of her blood. Afterward, they share a moment on the roof and kiss, unaware that Milo watches them from afar. The next morning, the FBI agents find the dead guys outside the bar and check the security cameras to discover Milo is the actual murderer. Nicholas sees the update on the news and goes to see Milo, asking him to stop killing people. Milo is tired of the doctor's pity, and after pointing out Morbius always was the favorite, he attacks Nicholas, leaving him seriously wounded. Meanwhile, Morbius manages to develop an antibody that will harm only a vampiric body. He makes 2 bottles, one for Milo and one for Martine to use on himself when the time comes. At that moment, he gets a call from Nicholas asking for help, and he rushes to Milo's apartment. Unfortunately, Nicholas only manages to beg Morbius to stop Milo before dying. At the same time, Milo kidnaps Martine and makes her say Morbius' name until he hears it with his power. After finding their location with his echolocation, Morbius flies through the city and finds Martine on a roof, bleeding from an injury by Milo. She wants Morbius to feed on her so she can die being useful, but Morbius kisses her instead, causing a drop of his own blood to fall in her mouth. At that moment, Martine dies, so Morbius gives in to his fury and feeds on her. Then Milo appears on the roof too, so Morbius jumps on him and both fall off the edge. On their way down, the vampires continue to attack each other and crash through a building a few times before they begin falling again. Milo hits Morbius extra hard and causes him to land on a platform, where he grabs him by the leg and throws him against a glowing sign. When Morbius falls one more time, Milo jumps on him and drags him against a building before they hit the street, only to go through the pavement and land on a tunnel. While Milo laughs like a maniac, Morbius sends a powerful echolocation wave through the tunnel with his voice and then through the water with his hand. Suddenly, an army of bats shows up to help Morbius up, and when Milo tries to kill him with a metal rod, Morbius sends the bats after him. As the little beasts hold Milo down, Morbius comes through and injects him with the antibody, causing Milo to turn human and apologize before dying. At that moment, the FBI agents arrive with the police, so Morbius hides among the bats to fly out of the tunnel safely. Meanwhile, on the roof, Martine wakes up and reveals she's a vampire too. Sometime later, a mysterious spell drops Spider-Man's enemy Vulture in the local prison. Nobody knows who he is here, and the police immediately release him. Soon, Vulture manages to remake his villain costume and approaches Morbius to team up.